Let me take you into the heart of a world that somehow still feels alive, even after thousands of years. A world built on water, sand, sunlight, and belief. But before we go there, let me ask you this simple question. How did a civilization rise out of a desert? Yes, a desert, and become one of the greatest, most enduring cultures the world has ever known? How did a people with no metal machines, no modern technology, and no global trade networks build structures so perfect that today's architects still shake their heads in disbelief? And maybe the most haunting question of all, how did they last for more than 3,000 years, when most empires today struggle to survive even 300? You're about to find out. And trust me, by the time we're done, you'll look at ancient Egypt not as a distant culture carved in stone, but as a living, breathing story of human ambition, genius, and mystery. So if you love uncovering the secrets of ancient worlds, feel free to stay with me, and hey, consider subscribing so you don't miss the journeys we take next. Now, let's begin where all life in Egypt began, with the Nile. Imagine standing on the edge of a vast Sahara, nothing but sand, heat, and silence. Then suddenly, like a miracle, a long ribbon of water appears, stretching across the land like a beating artery. Around 10,000 years ago, people began gathering along its banks, slowly learning the rhythm of the river. Every year, as if following a divine schedule, the Nile rose, flooded the fields, and left behind rich black soil. This yearly cycle didn't feel random. To the early Egyptians, it felt like the universe speaking. It felt like order in a chaotic world. And from that moment, Egypt was born not just as a place, but as an idea, that nature itself could be trusted, that the universe had a rhythm, and that humans could build something eternal if they understood it. Little by little, small villages grew into chiefdoms, and chiefdoms began to fuse into kingdoms. And finally, after centuries of local rulers fighting for dominance, a man emerged who would change the fate of the Nile forever. His name was Narmer, or Menes, depending on the tradition. But whoever he truly was, around 3100 BC, he united the lands of Upper and Lower Egypt into a single kingdom. People often read that sentence and move on, but think about it. This wasn't just political unification. This was the moment Egypt found its identity. Two lands, two cultures, two crowns, merged into one. A country that had never existed before suddenly came alive. And from this union, the world's first great civilization stepped forward. If you're enjoying the journey, take a moment to subscribe so you never miss stories like this, because we're just getting started. With unity came order. With order came ambition. And with ambition came the Old Kingdom, the age of the pyramid builders. Imagine a young civilization suddenly realizing what it's capable of. Imagine rulers who believed they weren't just kings, but living gods walking the earth. And imagine a population so devoted to the idea of eternal life that they poured their energy into constructing tombs that would outlast storms, time, and even history itself. It's easy to forget that before the pyramids existed, nothing like them had ever been attempted by human hands. Yet in just a few generations, Egypt went from simple mud brick structures to the step pyramid of Djoser, rising like a staircase into the heavens. And then came the Great Pyramid of Khufu, an engineering miracle so precise that modern architects still argue about how it was built. Over 2 million limestone blocks, each quarried, transported, and set into place by workers who believed they were participating in something sacred. This wasn't just architecture. It was faith made solid. A belief that the pharaoh wasn't just a ruler, but a bridge between the human world and the divine. The pyramid wasn't simply a tomb, it was a machine for eternity. And yet, even the greatest civilizations rise and fall in waves. After the Old Kingdom came collapse, famine, political fragmentation, years of uncertainty. But Egypt didn't die. It rebuilt itself, rediscovered itself, and rose again stronger than before. That's one thing I love about Egypt, its resilience. Every time it stumbled, it stood back up. By the Middle Kingdom, Egypt became wiser, more thoughtful, more artistic. This was when literature flourished, when stories and poems started to capture the inner thoughts of people who lived 4,000 years ago. For the first time, we hear Egyptians questioning destiny, exploring fear, wrestling with what it means to live a good life. It feels unbelievably human, almost modern. And it reminds us that time doesn't make us different, it just surrounds us with different tools. If you're still with me, take a second to like the video and subscribe for more hidden history. Your support helps this ancient world come alive for more people. But the greatest transformation, the most dramatic rise, came next, the New Kingdom. Egypt became a world power. It built an empire that stretched far beyond the Nile, reaching into Syria, Nubia, and the Levant. Its rulers were no longer just caretakers of the land. They became warriors, conquerors, strategists. Think of Thutmose III, sometimes called the Napoleon of Egypt, leading campaigns across the Near East with precision and brilliance. Or Hatshepsut, a woman who dared to present herself as Pharaoh, wearing the beard and regalia of a king, ruling with wisdom and expanding Egypt's wealth through trade rather than war. And then of course Ramses II, Ramses the Great, a king whose statues are so massive they seem to defy nature itself. His reign was one long attempt to carve his name into eternity, and honestly, he succeeded. But among all these towering figures, there was one ruler whose story feels almost too strange to be true, Akhenaten. This was the pharaoh who tried to rewrite Egypt's entire belief system, replacing centuries of tradition with a new god, the Aten, the sun disk. He changed the capital, the art style, even the way people were expected to worship. It was one of the most radical religious revolutions in history, and yet, after he died, the entire system collapsed. Egypt erased him, rebuilt its old temples, restored the old gods, and returned to its familiar rhythm as if trying to forget a dream that went too far. Even his young son, Tutankhamun, who changed his name to Tutankhamun, symbolized the return to tradition. Of course, we remember him today not for his politics, but for the treasure-filled tomb discovered in 1922, still glowing with gold after more than 3,000 years in silence. A reminder that even a minor king can become immortal if time is kind enough. But nothing lasts forever. Even giants fall. After the new kingdom faded, Egypt entered long centuries of division, foreign influence, and conquest. Libyans, Nubians, Assyrians, Persians, each left their mark. Still, Egypt survived. Its culture remained, its people endured, its stories continued. Then came the Greeks. When Alexander the Great entered Egypt, the people welcomed him not as a conqueror but as a liberator. And after his death, his general Ptolemy took control, founding the last great dynasty of Egypt, the Ptolemies. This was the age when Greek and Egyptian cultures mixed, when Alexandria became the intellectual heart of the world, home to the great library and scholars who shaped the future of science and philosophy. And standing at the end of this long magnificent line was Cleopatra VII, a woman who understood politics, culture, languages, and power better than almost anyone of her time. She wasn't just a beauty, not even close. She was a strategist, a negotiator, a queen who tried desperately to protect Egypt's independence in a world dominated by Rome. But in the end, even she couldn't stop the tide. After her death in 30 BC, Egypt became a Roman province, and the age of the pharaohs came to its quiet, dignified end. But you know what's remarkable? Egypt didn't disappear. Its symbols, its myths, its architecture, its mysteries, they spread across the world. They influenced Rome, then Europe, then modern science, art, religion, and imagination. Even today, when we look at the pyramids, or see hieroglyphs, or hear names like Ramses, Tutankhamun, or Cleopatra, we feel something ancient stir inside us. Something that whispers that human beings are capable of greatness far beyond what we imagine. And that's why history matters. Not because it's old, but because it reminds us of who we can be. If you've enjoyed this journey, make sure you subscribe, because there are countless more mysteries waiting. Lost civilizations, forgotten kingdoms, untold stories buried under sand, snow, and oceans. And I'd love to explore them with you. Thank you for walking through ancient Egypt with me today. Let this story stay with you. Let it remind you that even in the harshest places, civilization can rise, and sometimes it can rise forever.